By the time I woke up, we were in Bethlehem. I felt the cold air gently press against my cheek right before I smacked the corner of my eyebrow on the airplane window, which was smooth and smelled metallic. Gasping inaudibly, my eyes closed again, my head throbbing. I could feel the warmth of my mother's breath as she turned the page in her book. My father, sitting in the aisle seat, drummed his fingers on his armrest, eagerly awaiting the halt of the plane's wheels and the chime of the seatbelt sign. As close as we all were, Dad still felt far away. Bringing my chin to chest, my eyes swelled for a moment, and then I could see that crumbs from my animal crackers had left beige streaks on my black jeans. My red high-top Chuck Taylors did not touch the green and purple spotted carpet below. Instead, my feet banged into the seat in front of me, arousing a grunt from the balding man, the one in the awful gray wool suit and blanket of bad cologne, the one who left the window shade down during the whole flight. When Mom and Dad told me Aunt Abby was marrying Mark, I was excited. I didn't care much for weddings since I'd never been to one, but I always enjoyed going to Pennsylvania, where the leaves always change and fall to the ground like paper airplanes, and the wind smells like the end of something. They told me I did not have to wear a dress to the wedding ceremony since it was fall, and that was enough for me. Back home in Florida, I always had to wear a dress, even to Sunday dinner at Grandma's. Plus, I knew that as soon as I saw Sam and Nathan, Mark's nephews, we would pick up right where we left off last Thanksgiving, ghost hunting through the pine trees, searching for that part we all have in us that makes us scared. "What time do we check in?" I asked Mom. "We can check in at any time," she said. "We just have to go by baggage claim." Mom's voice was tired. Even though she had dyed the auburn back into her hair the day before, by her ears I could still see fine strings of gray, which resembled angel hair pasta. She held her place in the book with her pinky finger for a moment before folding the right-hand corner of the frail paper, rising from her seat to help Dad retrieve the carry-on luggage from the overhead compartment. They worked hard not to touch each other, and they did not speak. It was almost like they had some sort of system that was beyond words. When we drove the rental car out of the airport, the sun was setting and the air smelled earthy through my open window. Even though he was 6 years older than Mom, Dad's hair was still blonde like mine, and I watched the rhythm of it as it swayed in the wind. Passing by the forest, looking deeply into the heart of the pines, I imagined ghosts waiting there, transparent, wandering through the pine needles and dying grass, finding warmth and fear stolen from the living. The next morning, I woke early. Dad was outside on the hotel room balcony smoking, and Mom was putting on makeup in the bathroom, her red wine-colored pencil dress clinging to her shapely hips and thighs. I could see her reflection in the mirror. She was short without heels on. "We're meeting Grandma and Abby at the church after breakfast, Olivia, so let's get moving." Her tone was rough. She didn't even look at me. "Okay," I said, entering the bathroom and starting the shower. The white walls and grayish-blue wallpaper could not wash out the gold tint of my mother's tan skin. "You look pretty," I said, looking at both of us in the mirror, noticing the similarities of our bodies, even though I wasn't yet wearing a training bra. She ignored me, her blue eyes fixed on drawing above her eyelashes with eyeliner. I didn't get to see Sam and Nathan really until after the ceremony, which felt like it took days with all the reading and talking and crying. The boys were sitting up front with their grandparents, wearing identical blue suits because their father was Mark's best man. Nathan, who was 10 like me, told me they didn't have a mom, and that's why she never came to eat turkey with us on Thanksgiving. Sam, who was 2 years older but referred to himself as a teenager, used to sock Nathan in the shoulder whenever he said that. Everybody in the family, it seemed to me, was Catholic except for us. They got to go up and see the priest, who spoke in Latin, and eat his bread and drink his wine, kissing the sparkling jewels on his rings. Meanwhile, I sat on a cold wooden pew, inhaling my mother's vanilla perfume, watching the ritual from the back of the church. My own stomach growled because I'd only had a bowl of cereal at the Continental breakfast station before Mom said we had to go buy new stockings for Abby. Every time we went to Mass, which wasn't often, Mom always said, "Sinners to the back of the house." I always sat with her, even though I didn't know what I had done wrong. Dad must have been quite a sinner, I thought, because he hadn't even walked into the church yet. He stood outside on a business call with his boss. When Abby and Mark walked down the aisle as husband and wife, pelted with flower petals and cheering family members, I noticed a few drying tears on Abby's plump cheek, which was rosy from too much blush. They walked, squeezing hands and smiling wide, crucified Jesus at the altar shrinking behind them. Boring, Nathan said at the reception as we stuffed our faces with roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, and green beans. I didn't think that thing was ever going to end. I know, I said, dissecting the buttery green beans with my fork. I couldn't even understand what he was saying. It sounded like when I get bored with the TV and watch the Spanish channel. Nathan and I giggled. Does anybody have a flashlight? Sam asked, gulping his glass of Coke. No, I said. Everything's back home. Nathan shook his head. They had come to Bethlehem from Jersey for the wedding. Listen, Sam said, his hazel eyes widening. There's a school attached to this church, and it's locked. I was chewing, staring at him, trying to ignore the Bruce Springsteen music that the DJ was playing far too loudly. Abby and Mark were dancing, and so was my mom. She was barefoot, and she had taken her hair down. She was dancing with Nathan and Sam's dad, who was taller than Dad and didn't have the same round belly and love handles. I scanned the crowd for my father's wispy blonde hair, but I couldn't find him. Gosh, she's so embarrassing, I thought. We should go in. Sam's mouth was full, but he kept talking. Look for ghosts like last year. Nathan looked nervous, but he smiled at me. It was forced. I'm in, he said. I looked at my mother again. She was sipping a pink drink, slow dancing with Abby. I'm in too, I guess, I said. Sneaking away from the table was not the tough part. The tough part was trying not to look afraid as I snatched my mother's purse from the chair on which it was draped. I squatted low until I was barely visible under the long white tablecloth and searched her wallet for a credit card. I found a Visa that had been used a lot, just like Sam had instructed. Tripping over the lace on the tablecloth as I rose, I placed the purse back and looked around, making sure none of the old people had noticed. I couldn't see my mom on the dance floor anymore. Leaving Robert Plant crooning in the banquet hall behind me, I scurried to the statue of the Virgin Mary in the garden. This, Sam had told me, would be our meeting spot. The air outside was cold, and I could feel goosebumps emerging on my exposed shoulders. I had left my coat inside, but it was too late to go back to retrieve it. My father was on the phone near the main steps of the church. At first, I thought I could see his breath in the air, but as I got closer to him, I realized he was joined only by a cloud of smoke. When I got to the garden, I could see the two red-headed brothers studying the statue. Did you see her eyes move? Sam said. No. Then you weren't watching like I said, jackass. Look closer, closer. He pushed Nathan closer to the statue. The shadow from Nathan's body moved forward and created an illusion of movement in the statue. It looked like Mary had blinked. See it? Holy shit, Nathan said. She moved her eyes. Look, Liv, she's alive. The statue's alive. Sam looked at me. Something told me not to tell Nathan about the shadow. Did you get it? Sam's face was stern. Yeah, I got it. Sam used the credit card to jimmy the lock on the door. After a few unsuccessful tries, I hoped he would just give up. Resting his body on the door, he tried once more and the door popped open. Nathan giggled. Cool, he said. Tripping over each other, we stuck our palms on the walls, searching like blind men for a light switch. When we finally located it and turned it on, we realized we were in a classroom. Small wooden desks covered the room. There was a blackboard on one wall and a painting of the Last Supper on the other. Different versions of the Bible were on every desk. Creepy, Sam said, knocking over a few desks and smirking as the pages of the books became loose from their binding, sailing from the air to the floor like confetti. Let's look around. Fuck these lights. Let's have some fun in the house of God, shall we? Sam didn't wait for us to answer. He just shut off the lights and walked out the door into the hallway. Let's split up, Sam said. No way, Jose, Nathan said. We've all seen Scooby-Doo. Splitting up is never a good idea. Scooby-Doo's for weenies, Sam said. He placed the palm of his hand on the back of Nathan's skull and pushed him forward. That's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Even in the dark, I knew Nathan wanted to cry. I wanted to cry too. Suddenly, I wished I was dancing with my father, standing on the toes of his shoes like I used to. Keeping my right hand on the wall, I left them, looking for a bathroom. I'm going to check out this side, I said. I'll let you know if I see anything. My dress shoes were giving me blisters, so I limped forward. I banged into doors that led into smaller classrooms. In the dark, I knew I wouldn't be able to find my way back to Sam and Nathan. Tripping over a baseboard, the hallway turned right. I could see a light shining at the end of it. It seeped through the crack of the door. It was the women's restroom. I I took a few deep breaths and told myself not to be a weenie. Worst case scenario, I'd finally see a ghost, I thought. If it killed me, hopefully it'd be painless. But as I opened the door slowly, I heard noises, human noises. When my eyes adjusted to the yellow fluorescent light, I saw something worse than a ghost. Sam and Nathan's father standing upright, his back to me. My mother was bent over and her dress was on the floor. Watching his red hair bounce slightly, taking in the fluidity of his movements, I heard my mother scream his name. That was when I turned around and ran down the darkened hallway, the pain in my feet suddenly replaced with numbness all over. When I slammed headfirst into Nathan, we both fell, awkward like bowling pins. "Are you okay?" he asked. "Did you see a ghost?" "I think I saw a monster," I said, picking myself up and grabbing Nathan's hand. We didn't speak again until we made it out into the moonlight. I kept my head down as we joined Sam at the statue. Thanks, guys.